Hello, my name is Paul Seer from paulseer.com. I'm making this video to announce my brand new cooking show that I'm going to be starting. It's called Simply Wonderful Vegetarian Cooking. Now, I am a Hare Krishna, and I'm going to go over in this video, I'm going to go over a few of the principles of making spiritual offerings of your food. Now, to make a spiritual offering of your food is very simple. It just takes it one step beyond praying over your food. You prepare it in such a way with a lot of love that you can actually offer it to the Lord. Now, food has always been tied in with spirituality. You are what you eat. The Last Supper. This is my blood. This is my flesh. This is my blood. So there's always been a strong tie between what you eat and spirituality. So these offerings will bring about all desirable things in your life. If you desire to be very talented at something, talent will come. If you desire health, if you desire your family to be very healthy and successful, that will come. Money, all desirable things will come by making these offerings. Now, so now there are a few do's and don'ts when making these spiritual offerings of your food. And I'll go over them one by one. There are 4 principles of religiosity, of spirituality, and they need to be followed to make these spiritual offerings. The first principle of spirituality is mercy. Now, to be merciful means to be merciful to all living entities. So vegetarianism is recommended. Only vegetarian things are offered in these offerings. And actually, there are a few ingredients that are left out: onions, garlic, and mushrooms. And also, generally, you want to prepare things. You don't want to be offering cooked breads that have been cooked somewhere else. Everything you make, you want to be preparing. You don't want to be, especially grains, you don't want to be picking up bread at the store and offering it. If you're going to make bread, you should make it yourself. So that pretty much covers mercy. Vegetarianism is definitely recommended. I'm a vegetarian, I'm a Hare Krishna devotee, and I've been a vegetarian for 20 years, and I've become well acquainted with cooking a vegetarian, so that's why I decided to do a vegetarian cooking show. Now, the second one is cleanliness. Now, there's 2 kinds of cleanliness. There's cleanliness on the inside and there's cleanliness on the outside. I'll go over the outside first. Now, to make these offerings, you want to be very clean. First off, you want to bathe, and then you want to put on clean clothes. Now, clean clothes is especially important. You want to keep your clean clothes away from any dirty clothes, any dirty things. So you want your clothes to be very clean. You want to be completely clean, teeth brushed, everything clean. Okay, and now once you've completely cleaned, you want to refrain from eating anything, or you want to refrain from eating, drinking, because when you're touching your hands to your mouth, it's actually a subtle form of contamination. So you don't want to do that after you've bathed and put on your clean clothes. You don't want to eat anything. Also, after you're completely bathed and you have your clean clothes on, you don't want to use the bathroom in those clothes at all. So make sure you use the bathroom, past urine, anything you need to do in that way. You want to do it before you put on your clean clothes and bathe. Now, the kitchen is also very important too. You want the kitchen to be very clean. You want the dishes to be no dirty dishes in the sink. You want the floor to be clean, swept and mopped. The counters to be clean. The counter that you're using, especially, you want to make sure it's very clean. The stove is clean, and a sponge won't really do it. I usually like to use the sanitizer wipes because sponges, they carry a lot of bacteria. So you use the sanitizer wipes, that gets rid of all the bacteria everywhere. So that'll make your cooking area very clean. Also, you want to have like a counter that you use that you especially don't bring anything into it that isn't clean. So if you're cooking with fruits or vegetables, what you want to do first is wash them and then bring them into your cooking area. So I'll explain all that as we go through the show. Okay, so that pretty much covers that. Now, on the inside, generally there's a few principles for keeping yourself clean on the inside. Prayer is the most important. I'm a Hare Krishna, so I chant the Hare Krishna mantra: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's the first thing I do every day. It engages the ear and the tongue, and it purifies the consciousness. So it's a very sublime way of praying. If you're not Hare Krishna, I know that the Catholics chant on the rosary when they walk, and I usually do my chanting first thing in the morning, first thing when I wake up, right before the sun rises, before the first bird starts singing. I'll get out there and I'll take a nice long walk, and I'll chant the Hare Krishna mantra for about an hour. It just purifies my consciousness. So that's recommended. Do some prayer every day. Human body is different from animal body, so we want to keep the lower part of the body covered. So I use a cotton boxer brief even when I shower. So you want to stay covered. Generally, you don't want to be walking around naked. That's just a subtle form of, making your consciousness impure. Now, illicit sex life in general, will bring a certain impurity over your consciousness. Now, right now the atmosphere is saturated with lust. Men and women both are very revealing the way they dress. So you don't want to be walking around checking out, especially guys, you don't want to be walking around checking out girls' butts everywhere, checking out girls, don't want to be doing that if you're going to make any spiritual offerings. That's a really strict one, really has to be abided by if you're going to make these offerings. Now also, there's no manual stimulation for sex, and if you're going to have sex, it should be with your partner. And even then, a certain uncleanliness comes over your consciousness. You're going to want to wait 3 days before you cook any offering. So that's basically the standard for sex. So you have to kind of be free from sex desire, bring that under control. But by practicing these things, you'll see that sex desire will kind of like loosen in your life. Lust in general will start loosening in your life. Now the next one is truthfulness. Now truthfulness has a lot to do with your occupation. Obviously you don't want to be cheating others in your dealings. Obviously if you're a businessman or a businesswoman and you have to say, I'm not going to make any profit off this, obviously you have to make some profit or you're not going to be able to stay in business. So that doesn't negate your truthfulness, but generally things that are, negative, if you, selling drugs or, selling even alcohol to people, these things will negate your truthfulness and bring an uncleanness over you. So those things want to be avoided. It's very important you really take into consideration where you're working. You don't want to be working somewhere where you're serving meat all day or serving alcohol all day. These things will bring a certain uncleanness over your consciousness that'll make your consciousness unfit for making these offerings. So that's mercy, cleanliness, and truthfulness. Now the last one is austerity, and it's very important to perform some austerity. Generally there's no intoxication. Now there is a little bit of leeway on the things that people, the small intoxications of tobacco and caffeine. Generally 90% of everybody has something they have to do every time they wake up in the morning, either have a cigarette or drink a cup of coffee, tea. Now, but these things can actually be used as a form of austerity. Now, if you want to get right up and you want to just immediately have a cigarette, now you can go for your walk, you could pray for an hour before you have your cigarette, and then you just performed an austerity for spiritual benefit. Generally, all intoxication is refrained from. But there's a little bit of slack in the area of tobacco and caffeine because generally 90% of everybody is using it. But you can use it for austerity like I suggested, and I do recommend it. But the use of the harder drugs and alcohol is definitely a no-no. If you're going to be performing these offerings, they basically completely destroy austerity. So you don't want to be getting drunk and you don't want to be using drugs. Those things just completely destroy austerity and bring an uncleanliness over your consciousness. So these are the basic do's and don'ts. You follow these and you can make these offerings. All desirable things will come to you. And they're all very wonderful to taste too, so that's another aspect too. You get to taste all these wonderful things after you offer them. I'm going to make a whole video on the offering itself, but these are just a few of the principles of making offering, the lifestyle of somebody who's going to be making these offerings. If you follow these do's and don'ts, your offerings will be accepted. Make sure you make them with love, and there's a lot of things you can do to show your love. This idea of a dinner and a show. So if you have some kind of talent, you're a musician, you're a singer or something, you could sing a nice song, glorify the Lord, or even just offer a little bit of music of some kind. It's a nice little gesture, a little show of love that you want to make this offering in love. So if you have some talent, go ahead and use it, make an offering to the Lord, and it will be accepted if it's offered with love. Now, I am Paul Seer again, and I'm going to be starting this vegetarian cooking show, Simply Wonderful Vegetarian Cooking. It's going to be weekly, and I do hope you'll be able to stop by and check it out. We're going to have a lot of wonderful recipes. Please, if you get a chance, stop by my website at paulseer.com. I am writing a book called A Friend Request. A lot of good spiritual information in there about practicing spirituality in these modern times. If you believe in the benefits of these offerings, you're going to feel them in your life. You're going to feel the lower things in life going to slacken in your life. You won't feel lusty. You won't feel like greedy. You won't feel like you have a lot of animosity towards others. All these things will loosen their hold on you in your life if you make these offerings with love. So I do recommend it. And once again, I'm Paul Seer. And please tune in to my vegetarian cooking show, Simply Wonderful. And we're going to have a lot of wonderful recipes. And I hope you can join me on this journey. Thank you.